The Circus Diaries video ident has clips of trapeze, tight wire, books, big tops and a cup of tea. Hello, I am back in my Airbnb bedroom. The window is behind me, it's dark outside, and on the wall by my side you can see my shadow with my arm holding up the camera that's recording this video at an angle. I'm wearing a nude coloured vest that matches my skin tone because that is the costume theme of the show that we're working on. It's part of director Marie-André Robitaille's process to strip back any norms and conventions performers might have about presenting themselves to get to kind of the raw, honest basis to then build back up from. So we've been working today doing some exercises on group choreography and group interaction and complicity. But we've also split so that our audio description group can go off and do some tasks while the circus acrobats and aerialists and jugglers and clowns work on their sort of solo pieces and smaller group choreographies. And it's become suddenly really daunting from the excitement of the end of day one, the end of day two. We're thinking we've got less than 3 days now until our first performance, and the nature of the creation process for the show is that nothing is set yet. So that means we can't begin scripting anything yet. And the longer it is before any of the action is set, the less time we will have to prepare something that is expressive in the right kind of way. So we've been coming up with ideas of potential words that we could use or potential phrases, but at the moment they're just potential because the actions that generated them might not even appear in the show. We've been experimenting with voices at different places around the space, going up onto the balcony levels, and also rigging aerial hammock for Erin and Whitney to use in the centre of space. I could use it as well, I guess. I'm not as confident in aerial performance as those two are. It's never something I've done professionally, so I am the least adept in the room, I would imagine. But you know, I can do words, so when that part comes along, and we've scripted a small amount, like an opening scene. Yeah, there's lots of challenges, and we started to realise that our creative ambitions are probably far too big for the scope of this project because we have got such a short space of time. I think we have to prioritise the function of what the audio description does, because if it doesn't serve its purpose, then it's a complete waste of time to anyone visually impaired or blind that does come along to the show. So we will probably have to sacrifice some of the ideas that we would like to work on if we had a longer project of this sort, to make sure that we're providing the experience as advertised, you know, making the circus art accessible. Yeah, this is quite disjointed talking. I think I said in my introduction, you go around the room and everybody sort of says their name and a little bit of their background, and I said, yeah, I really like words, but I'm much more confident writing them down than I am spouting them off the top of my head. And I think it's when I'm tired and I'm recording these videos, you can tell. So day 3 will begin tomorrow, and we will update you on how that goes. Our group is joined this morning by our mentor Alex Bulmer, who talks to us a bit more about what the audio description expectations are and puts our mind at ease about how much we can realistically expect to achieve.
If you had all been audio describers for, 8 years in the traditional sense, it's possible you could walk into a space like this and just, boom, do it like that. But you wouldn't be describing everything because you wouldn't know what's going on. So it would still be like, you wouldn't get everything. You couldn't possibly. But you guys are at the beginning. So I don't want you to put massive expectations on yourself. Like just sitting up here. Okay, somebody just did something really interesting. I don't know what it was, but it sounded like a flip. See, that sounds to me like somebody's moving through the space. Like that's an interesting sound. Mm-hmm. How we then approach it in a way that, kind of satisfies our desire to be creative and satisfies our desire to give some access and honors the piece. I think this is what I'd like to really talk about this morning. And I say all options again are open. We could choose to focus on one section. Mm-hmm. We could decide that we're not going to do it in front of the whole audience, but entirely through microphones and a headset, so that if it does some kind of clash sometimes, it's not going to be this big deal that the whole audience is clashing, and we can talk to our blind audience member ahead of time and say, this might happen, this is very experimental, so there's some, again, we can manage expectations that way. We can break you into 3 in terms of like, one of you does 1 7 minutes, one of you does 1 7 minutes, and another one of you does another 7 minutes. You could do it that way. You could decide that you're only going to describe before the 7 minutes starts, so that you become a title page description rather than description all the way through.
In the training space, acrobats stretch, practice handstands, or juggle a hat stand on their feet. In a later scene, a huddle of bodies dissolve to reveal a single figure balanced on a pair of chains hung 3 foot above the ground. Erin and Whitney practice moves in strands of aerial silk. The juggler tosses rings to another acrobat on the Chinese pole. In another shot, we see past the back of Kate and Whitney's heads to Dr. Tina Carter performing on an aerial sling, which is silk's fabric hung in a loop. She gives text of how the act feels to her as we give text of how it looks to us, so that we can discuss the implications. She comes down and chats to us.
What language do we use, or what metaphors would be appropriate to use that helps keep the concept within the audio description?
At the end of the day, I get started translating some of the text that we speak into a visual cue for those who might not be able to hear. And another day, another opening circle. We begin the day making some vocal exercises, because if we're going to be speaking text, we need to be heard. We take our own little space outside the theatre where we can prepare our model box and some of the more pieces of text that we're going to display in and around the theatre, so that we're not alienating people who can't hear the speech. Before the day ends, Erin is raised into the air on the trapeze so she can practice some audio description.
Pulls an orange out of the pocket. Places the orange on the floor.
So here I am, back in the Airbnb, sprawled on my bed, looking up at the camera. I'm pretty tired looking, and I'm really grateful for this soft pillow behind my head. Today was a realisation again that things that we're learning now would have been really great to have been able to implement at the beginning of this week or before this week started. But of course we didn't know the things then, so we're only discovering them now, and now it's too late to back implement them, and there's a frustration that comes with that, because then of course our ambitions for accessibility can't be fully met. But I think everybody in the Circus Sessions has been challenging themselves, which is brilliant. And also like I know personally, so many new kind of windows of possibility have been opened that I wouldn't have even considered before arriving here, about how to make rehearsal processes inclusive for different needs, about how to make performance moments more inclusive for different physical abilities, how to make text come alive for people who can't hear, how to make images come alive for people who can't see. So although this has been a really short, really intense period of just kind of tasting the water, and it's given me the taste for what can come. So future projects will then develop on from this. So I think it's a really great starting point. So I guess the next video will be after the shows. Speak to you then. Bye. Closing credits appear on a weathered pink and grey starburst for circusdiaries.com, also on Facebook and Twitter.